We all have dreams. Dreams that fuel our daily lives and help us strive to reach heights well beyond what we believe to be humanly possible. A swim, a bike ride, and a run. A triple crown of dreams played out against the magnificent backdrop of downtown Vancouver and the North Shore Mountains of Canada's Pacific Coast. Hi, I'm Barry McDonald, welcoming you to the Subaru Vancouver Half-Iron Triathlon, featuring a number of the world's top male and female triathletes. As well, Olympic gold medal coach Lance Watson will be along with some of his Lifesport training tips to help you achieve some of your top personal performances. We'll also have a special celebrity component featuring model Jenny Fletcher from the television show Deal or No Deal, who teams up with Iron Chef champion Rob Feeney in the sprint relay. A winner from last year's race, mayoral candidate Peter Ladner, rounds out the celebrity list. I'll soon be partnering up with Ironman legend Steve King, who I believe is out there somewhere right now on the running course. As for me, I'm headed out on the bike course.
Well, here I am on the finishing stretch right now of what will be, we know, a great race. Tremendous conditions, and we have a battle here amongst the women to become the series champions in the Subaru West Coast Series. First three are in the money. First three men is the prestige, and we have some great athletes here. We're hoping for winning times around 4 hours, but others just want to finish inside 8 hours, and we hope that's the case for all of our starters today in this race here in Vancouver. Super location, but I have some more work to do, and that includes getting to the finish.
We'll be back with a swim with the Subaru Vancouver Half-Iron Triathlon after this break. Stay with us. The 2008 Subaru Vancouver International Half-Iron Triathlon is brought to you by Subaru, taking great pride in its involvement with sporting events and charitable causes across Canada. Lifesport coaching, personalized training, the next level. And by New Balance. Love, hate, this is the New Balance. The swim is next. Welcome back to the Subaru Vancouver International Half-Iron Triathlon. I'm Barry McDonald with Steve King. What's going through these competitors' minds at this point, Steve? It's a beautiful looking morning. It's early in the day. They're getting ready to swim a long ways, bike, run 21 kilometers. What's going through a competitor's mind at this point?
Well, right now they're gearing up to make sure there's no real problems. They've made sure their wetsuits are on properly. They know the sighting for the swim. You can see a couple of athletes, two of our favorites in the women's division there. And Andrei Yastrobov from the Ukraine, a man who's already won one of the series races. This is the third race in the 4-race series.
If nerves get in your way in any sport, it can obviously compromise your effort. It can compromise your ability to place well. Are nerves a factor for athletes in this discipline until the event starts?
Exactly. But these are good nerves for some of these athletes. Some are very, very confident. They're out to win and gain the prestige of getting a great title on their resume. Others are doing this distance for the very first time and want to finish under 8 hours.
Steve, do a lot of these athletes really like one of the disciplines specifically and then end up having to like the other two to compete in such a discipline like this?
Well, indeed, some athletes have come into the sport as being a single discipline experts there. We see Cheryl Murphy. She's better known there as a runner. She set the Canadian record 71:45 for half marathon. There, the race is now underway. Look at this. Great start, great morning, excellent conditions for the 1.9 kilometer swim. And of course, for us, it's interesting and for the spectators because they're going to do 2 loops of 1K apiece. We'll get a chance then to sort of see what sort of time we could see for our top finishers. We've got a relay team in there, by the way, that I would suspect is going to be producing the first swimmer to exit. And that is a guy called Tom Rushton, a young man who is a brilliant swimmer. He and his brother just last weekend swam around Manhattan Island 28 miles, and they lost the race by a mere 16 seconds after 7.5 hours. We'll have most of the field finish this race within 7.5 hours. In fact, the leaders will be looking possibly to exit the swim. Total time maybe around 25 minutes. We could look at that for our top men and possibly the top women around 28 minutes or so. But Tom Rushton already to the fore.
Do all of the athletes like the same water conditions, or can it vary from athlete to athlete?
Well, it varies from athlete to athlete. If you're a very strong swimmer, you wouldn't care too much about a wetsuit, except for the distance, of course, here, which being 1.9, you might as well wear one. But some athletes, they're comfortable in very nasty conditions where you may have a bit of a chop. There's no chop today. You see Tom Rushton, look at that. He's already pulled well clear of the field. Look how smooth he is. He would like it to be as rough as possible to give his team the biggest possible lead. Now you see some breakaways already. We've got 3 people who have moved ahead of the rest of the field, and these 3 are all in the individual category for today's race.
Our water temperature today is comfortable.
Well, I tell you, for some of these athletes and athletes who were in Vancouver just 3 weeks ago for the World ITU Olympic Distance Championships, the water temperature there was 11.2 degrees. Today, it's a balmy 18 degrees.
Is this generally the most exhausting discipline of the 3?
No, that would be the run by a long way, because you've got the previous 2 disciplines behind you, including the bike ride, which has got some major hill climbs on that, and they're going to do that quite a few times, of course. This is the one you're relieved to have over. A lot of people like to get out the swim. They know roughly where they are. They know what they should be doing. Some people lose a bit of valuable time, even getting your wetsuit off. But if you can hang behind someone right in front of you, as long as they're taking the straightest line, and we saw Jasper Blake a little earlier there, looked to be slightly, of course, may have lost a little ground, but he was ahead of the rest of the pack of the swimmers. Now, amongst the lead swimmers, we have Bree Wee from Kona, the home of Ironman World Championships, of course, and she would be the favourite amongst the female swimmers. You've got Eileen Swanson amongst them, but amongst the men, it does appear like other top places, Chris Brown and Andrei Yastrobov.
All right, let's hear now from Lifesport coach Lance Watson, an Olympic gold medal coach back in 2000.
As a coach of many Ironman champions, we spend a lot of time preparing for the specific dynamics of a race. But the race is won or lost often in the first few meters of the swim. So as a coach, we talk a lot about where the athlete's head and heart and mind needs to be, where their focus needs to be right before the race starts. When I'm looking at my athletes, I'll often look for some kind of a balance. It's very specific to the athlete, whether they're activated, whether they're nervous, whether they're excited, they're joking with their competitors. So as you look down the start line at the pro athletes, you'll see whether the athletes are ready to give it a good go or whether they look like perhaps they're in over their head today.
Steve, it really is uncommon for a competitor to lead out of the swim and ultimately win a half iron or a triathlon event.
It is uncommon, but it has happened a couple of times that I'm very well aware of. In Penticton, Tom Evans, who lives there, in fact, when he won Ironman Canada, led after the swim and all the way to the finish line, as did Brian Rhodes of New Zealand when he competed in Ironman Malaysia. Now, we're looking at some of our leaders here on the swim, and here is Bree Wee. Amazingly, she's presently the 3rd place swimmer. She goes back into the water, makes a turn, gets a high 5. Tremendous time there. It looks like about 12 minutes and 48 seconds as she's made the turn, with Chris Brown and Andrei Yastrobov right behind her. But in front of both of these, we have 2 swimmers. Those 2 swimmers being Tom Rushton in the relay and Jasper Blake, the leader in the men's race.
All right, let's hear from the women's leader, Bree Wee.
I think Vancouver is awesome. I am in love with the people, with the community, just with the cleanliness of the big city. I come from Hawaii, so I know what beautiful is, and I kind of see it here too. So it's quite refreshing to come to another great place. And I did the race last year, but I wasn't able to finish because I lost my spare. So this year's kind of like comeback year. I want to actually finish the race this year. A little unfinished business.
Cheryl Murphy from Victoria, attended the University of Manitoba. She's one of Canada's top distance runners.
I have to say I'm super excited about racing on this course because I've run along this path behind us I don't know how many times, cycled up that hill thousands of times, and I just can't even think of honestly a more beautiful place to have a race. I've raced all around the world, and I have to say Vancouver is, on a day like this, is probably is the most beautiful place in the world, and to have a race right down here at Spanish Banks is outstanding.
It is outstanding indeed, as Cheryl said, but she finds herself at this point, when they've got one loop completed, already 3 minutes down on the leading females. Amongst our leaders, of course, we've seen Bree Wee, we've got Eileen Swanson, Caroline Smith, Janet Nielsen, and Rachel Kears, and there's only 1 minute and 10 seconds separating the top 5 women. A closer race for the women than there are for the men.
Ideal conditions, Steve.
Absolutely. What a day this is turning out to be already. But here is that breakaway threesome. Remember, Jasper Blake is well ahead of this group right now, so he is swimming solo.
All right, Steve, more of the swim later. Coming up next, it's the Celebrity Sprint Relay, right after this.
To wear. And then I put a little engine on your bike.
No, no. The bike portion. Yeah, a little motor for the bike would be good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So
20 horsepower or so.
We can do this. We can do this.
All right.
Okay.
Oh yes. So relay. Yes, that's us, the relay team.
We are the relay team.
We are the relay.
We're gonna do great. I love my partner. We're gonna make a great team, and we're gonna be fast. Oh, Vancouver is beautiful. The weather is beautiful. It's just great to be here. I could live here. Maybe I will.
I've done the best I can. I used to race years ago. You wouldn't notice it now, but yeah, I've worked about as hard as I can to get ready for this thing. The goal for me is, I guess I'm only doing the bike portion of this relay, and I really want to make sure I get up the hill. That's all I need to do. Is once I get up the hill, I'm okay. It's flat the rest of the way.
Oh, wait.
Well, there you have it. This is the start of the Celebrity Relay, which is a shorter course version of the main race, but one loaded with personality. Jenny Fletcher makes real quick work of the one-lap swimming course, and she heads for the transition area to hand off to a relaxed and ready chef by the name of Rob Feeney, who needs no introduction. This is a neat element of this event, as long as it complements what the real athletes are doing. It doesn't get in the way of the event.
Indeed, you can see she's actually quicker than Lifesport coach Lance Watson. Truly a triathlete. Jenny Fletcher, a great swim. Handing over to Rob Feeney, and Rob himself, a former Category 2 rider, and he's ridden with the likes of Brian Walton.
I'm trying. And as Rob talks himself up the hill, let's meet another celeb who is in the half-iron relay event and a defending champ in that event.
I am so pumped to be in this race. I have been, I'm in a political race, but I went in this race, the first one last year, had such a fantastic time. I'm back for more, and I can't think of a better place to be on a Sunday morning. I run along this beach almost every day, but I don't often get to run in the company of international triathletes, Ironmen, and all these fabulous people who are here. I'm going to put in a great performance, see if I can live up to winning the mixed relay again with my team, and look forward to a great day sharing it with all the people who are out here with their kites and sailboats and swimming and having a great time.
Having a great time, but not taking a win this year. His teammates Stacey Gorkoff and Jessica Depew, the man who came second in his age category at the Vancouver Sun Run with a 38-minute clocking. There he is at the finish line. Team time 4:47.
Well done. All right, well done, Peter. Let's go back to Rob as he heads into the transition area.
And he's about to make the handover to Jenny. He's had a good bike, and I think he's just relieved to get off and be safe there. Remember, he's just become a father as well, so he hasn't had too much time to train. But I tell you, Jenny Fletcher, she is a tremendous-looking athlete in every sense of the word. She's lived in many areas of the world, including New York. She's done a 40:03 10K. She's done a 2:14 Olympic distance triathlon and a 3:30 marathon. Look at that brilliant performance, and they win the team division.
Played just about every sport she could play as a youngster: basketball, volleyball, track and field, cross-country running. She was involved in the modern pentathlon, and we're seeing her athletic ability here today.
And look at that, with a relay partner and with Coach Lance Watson. Tremendous job, excellent race, and they may be surprised at taking the title.
Not so fast, but faster got us through fast.
No, we're a team. We work together.
That was good.
It was
You
great.
came out of the water fast.
He just had his wife had a baby on Monday.
Yeah, that's my excuse. I had no sleep
My
last night.
excuse is I've been sick.
No excuses necessary. Well done by the celebs. The end of the half-iron swim is coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Subaru Vancouver Half-Iron Triathlon. Barry McDonald along with Steve King. And Steve, we have our first man out of the water.
We do indeed. It's Jasper Blake from Victoria, former Ironman Canada champion, and it looks as though he's already a minute up on the field. His time, 24:41. A great swim That's about 10 minutes faster than the fastest swimmers last year when there were some ties. Now look who's coming out in second place. Bree Wee, you've got Chris Brown in there, and Andrei Yastrobov, the Ukrainian. They are well clear of the rest of the field. Let's take a look at their times as well. Looks at about 25:50 on the clock for all three of them, just seconds separating them. They've got to run up into transition. Look at that, Chris Brown has already moved into second place overall. There's Andrei Yastrobov, and there's the leader in the women's race, Bree Wee from Kona, Hawaii.
Pacing obviously important in the swim, so you've got something left for the cycling and then ultimately the run.
Indeed, and it looks as though they were a minute up on this second pack here, and amongst the second pack swimmers, I think Eileen Swanson is there in the women's division. Indeed she is. I think Matthew Hamadi also in that group, and it could be Vincent Lavalle, or I believe Janet Nielsen also is going to be amongst our leaders. But the women's race here, very, very close. Caroline Smith also right up there in the top three. That's what we've heard, but the gaps are already starting to form. They're a minute up front as Chris Brown is heading out onto the bike course, and he is, in my estimation, one of the top two bikers in the field here today. That's often where he makes up a lot of ground, but Jasper Blake, no slouch himself, and Andrei Yastrobov already coming off a sub 4-hour victory in Victoria, which of course was one of the Subaru West Coast Triathlon Series races. And there is Bree Wee, and let's remember she did a 52-minute swim in Ironman Japan where she came second. She's back for a second year. And this year, of course, she not only wants to win overall, but she wants to complete the bike course. She had a flat tire last year. We're looking right now, I believe that's Eileen Swanson who's approaching out of San Ramon, California, the 32-year-old former gymnast, and she is running very well to transition. But at this point, it appears as though she's just over a minute back of our leader. She had a swim time there of 26:53 compared to Bree Wee's time. I believe that was 25:50.
You're right, Steve. Eileen Swanson had a gymnastics scholarship to the University of Washington in Seattle. She transferred to UCLA in 1997, and it was 11 years ago at the Westwood campus that she discovered triathlon. And she represented the U.S. at the 1999 World Championships in Montreal.
And so the winner of the Cal Tri Series herself finds herself in second place to this lady, also a Lifesport coached athlete, Bree Wee. Paul Regensburg coaches Elaine, who's back there. She's losing a little bit of time in transition, but remember, this is pretty much the fourth discipline.
Yeah, I was going to say, getting started, certainly it's not as easy as it is for the swimmers or for the runners. You can really lose a lot of valuable time in this discipline, can't you?
Indeed, a lot of triathletes have to practice for speed in transitions, getting the wetsuits off, getting their gear on properly, getting the bikes out, getting their shoes on, getting their helmets done up, because we have officials there. Their job is to watch out for any infractions, and that, of course, includes drafting on the bike course.
What are the similarities when it comes to the disciplines of swimming and cycling? Because you're using a whole lot of different body parts, aren't you?
We are indeed, and there's Caroline Smith. Now, she is the third female swimmer to exit, and her time was 27:30, I believe. And behind her, look at this, Janet Nielsen in transition there. She works for Lifesport. In fact, great swimmer, and she is hoping to move up. She's only had one half-iron experience before. She's off onto the bike, and we saw a moment ago to her right in the transition area, Rachel Kears, who was fifth placer coming out of the swim. And Rachel's time, I believe, was a 28:17. And there she is. She's asking some questions. It may be her husband, Mike, who's in there in the transition area yelling at her, but she is a new pro, a first-year racing pro, and she had a tremendous win at the first race in the Subaru West Coast Triathlon Series in Shawnigan Lake. Surprised a lot of people. Who knows what's going to happen today? Could be filled with surprises.
Do the athletes have a good sense of their placing, where they are in the event after the swim, as they're getting, do they know right here how far they are behind?
Not at that point. You can hear some chips going on. That is timing chips. Carolyn Hubbard, now great story there. And she's got 4 kids now and was a World Ironman Series winner for Canada. Great to see her back and racing so strongly. You hear the beep there? That's the timing chip, the computer chip that actually records the times and the placings for all of these triathletes, as more of them are now pouring out of the water and into the transition area. And it's a great day. They're looking forward to this 4-loop bike course. It's not going to be an easy one. And not easy to get the wetsuit off for Katja Myers in 11th place in the women's race. And it appears as though Rachel Kears has now moved up to 4th place in the women's event. And this is tremendous for her because biking is her biggest strength amongst the 3 disciplines. Now, this is her hometown as well, Vancouver, so she's happy to be out front. And one lady who's not too happy with her swim and placing right now, but can make up a lot of ground, Katja Myers, the former Stanford gymnast and rower, all ready to head out on the bike course. Her time for the swim, though, 33 minutes and 1 second, so she's quite a ways back of our leaders. And there is Cheryl Murphy now. She needs to really start to motor because she's exited in 46th place overall, I believe, that swim at 33.47, and finds herself in 15th place in the women's race, losing a bit of time, struggling to get the wetsuit off, but once she is onto the bike and run, she is the most formidable duathlete now in Canada. The only one on our elite national team, but she has a huge amount of ground to make up, and again, look at the difference between transitions right now. And she presently finds herself some 8 minutes behind our leader, Bree Wee.
She's got some work to do. Thank you, Steve. Let's check our Power Bar swim standings now. Bree Wee, as mentioned, is the leader. Top 3 right now are American. Eileen Swanson is 2nd. Caroline Smith is 3rd. Janet Nelson of Canada is in 4th place, just ahead of Rachel Keers. As for the men, Jasper Blake of Canada is in the lead, just ahead of Chris Brown, also of Canada. Andrei Yastrepov of the Ukraine is sitting 3rd. All right, let's check in now with Lance.
A critical component to them having a successful bike ride is their aerodynamic setup. Now, the sport of triathlon have been innovators in aerodynamics on bike and have been closely followed by the cycling world. Starting with the handlebars in the late 80s, triathlon innovated the aero bar, which brings the athlete into a down, tight, tucked position, much like a downhill ski racer. You'll see the bar end shifters put the gear shifting right at their fingertips so they don't have to reach down and break that tight aerodynamic position. That's coupled with very small brake levers and a very tight frame profile, which gives a very small wind frontage. Looking at the side-on profile of the bike, we'll see a deep rimmed wheel, and this means a smaller spoke surface and less spokes turning the wind and creating turbulence. A nice deep aerodynamic frame and a tight wheel cutout, again protecting the rear spokes from the wind flow. Looking up to the seat and behind the saddle, this is a way that triathletes will carry a little bit more hydration and nutrition with them, and also keeping the bottle behind their body and again out of the wind flow. Though the athletes will train hard, and at the end of the day it's heart and lungs that matter, these little edges will take 2, 3, 4 minutes off their bike split with less effort, and that can be the difference between first place and being off the podium.
All right, Lance and Steve, early in the cycling event here, something very significant happening.
Truly has. Look at that, a left-hand pass there. Chris Brown, the man who was 3rd at Ironman Canada last year and now lives there in Penticton, he's overtaken a man who's won the race in Penticton, Ironman Canada former champion Jasper Blake. I'm a little bit surprised at this early in the game, into the bike race, into the distance, that Chris has made such a move, but he knows he's got to really open it up on the bike to get a cushion. The same really applies to Bree Wee here. She is a good runner, but remember, Cheryl Murphy is back there and she's a threat to everybody. There is Rachel Keers on our right. We just saw her. She is moving through the field and moving very powerfully. A reminder, last year she did a 10:25 clocking at Ironman Canada. That was 2 hours better than her previous performance, and she won her age category. Now moving up from being an age group athlete into being a professional triathlete and making inroads on our leaders. Remember, 5th out of the swim as well. And now we're looking at Caroline Smith, the young woman from Louisiana who's really motored on the bike already. She looks over to her left and sees the women's leader there, that leader Bree Wee. There's only seconds between them, and it looks as though Caroline is now about to make a pass. A tremendous effort from this athlete. A reminder, she used to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, now finds herself leading in the Vancouver International Half Ironman distance race. So this is exciting stuff, a great build up here in the women's race, and we shortly will see some more moves because Rachel Keers, we understand, is getting closer and closer. Here it looks as though she's pedaling hard, but that's because this is one of the climbs there on this course for 4 loops. Rachel knows the course well. What she has to do if she's going to be amongst the top 3 is have the best bike of the day almost, because running is not her forte. She needs to be able to hang on the run because she's got some very fast runners behind her. In the men's race, Andrei Yastrepov, he was in the picture just a moment ago there, and Jasper Blake, who's lost a bit of ground to Chris Brown.
The bike looks great. It's going to be awesome. UBC is a really neat place to ride around. I've been on that road a couple of times, and there's some good little hills, and it's pretty quiet. So I'm excited. You know, I think on the bike you just let her rip, see what you got.
And look what he has got. He's ripped himself right through to the lead again. He's now assumed the lead over Chris Brown of Penticton.
We've got an exciting race, Steve, and we will get back to it. But after the break, the backdrop and the beauty of the course itself. Imagine a sun-drenched beach in an ocean setting against the backdrop of the North Shore Mountains and the Olympic skyline of Vancouver. Well, this is exactly what greets visitors to the Jericho Sailing Center, as members and guests of all ages participate in a wide range of easily accessible water-related activities. UBC's Botanical Gardens, the oldest continuously operating botanical gardens in Canada, is just a short distance away, offering 110 lush acres of different plants, many of which can only be grown in this moderate West Coast environment. Nearby is the Museum of Anthropology, founded in 1947 and boasting the reputation as Canada's largest teaching museum. There are 535,000 objects in the collection, including the wonderful works of Bill Reed, and they're viewed each year by almost 170,000 visitors. The Great Hall is an architectural wonder modeled on Pacific Post beam created by famous architect Arthur Erickson. The university endowment lands occupy more than 14 square kilometers and are governed separately from the city of Vancouver. Thanks to the generosity of the UBC Endowment Lands Management Group, our Subaru Triathlon has had a spectacular setting for its event, including the four-loop bicycle race.
And back in the bike race, Barry, there's our leader, Jasper Blake, on his customised bike. He's got decals on that bike that represent everything about his life, including his partner, Jenny, and his son, Finlayson. And there's Chris Brown and Andrei Yastrobov, just meters separating them. Let's remember, Yastrobov, in fact, was second to Jordan Rapp in Shawnigan Lake, and Jasper Blake was in third place there. These guys have raced head-to-head before. Last year, Chris Brown came off the bike ahead of Andrei Yastrobov, and let's listen to Chris.
Well, I mean, the finish line is on the run. I know what those guys have to have a good lead off the bike. I raced Andre last weekend, and I had over 5 minutes off from leading the bike, and he still caught me, so there's still some work I need to do, but it's a good way to gauge your fitness.
Well, he's referring to last year, and this year, here he is once again coming off the bike in first place. He overtook Jasper in the final few kilometers. He's ahead of Andrei Yastrobov. He racks his bike. It looks as though he's done a 2:23.40 bike split, but we have heard from the course that the actual distance is about 9 kilometers longer than last year when Trevor Williams set a record of 2:05.07. But it does mean that he's averaged about 38 kilometers an hour. He's in fact only spent 26 seconds in transition. And just behind him, it looks as though he's just over a minute back, Andrei Yastrobov. Both these guys raced last weekend in the National Long Course Championships at this same distance in Osoyoos, and they were second and third overall. Today they are 1 and 2, and last year they were 1 and 2, but in reversed order. Yastrobov, of course, would love to come away with the win. Reminder, he was in 4th place at Ironman Canada last year behind Chris Brown, who's the man ahead of him. Let's look at the splits for Andre there. Looks like it was a 2:24.43 bike split. How quickly is he going to make the transition? Both these men now ahead of Jasper Blake, who was the pre-race favourite going into this race. Yastrobov, former member of the Ukrainian cross-country skiing team, looks around. He knows he's got to go the same way as the rest. Looks like he may have forgotten his race number there. He's got to pick that up. That is something all athletes have to do. Look at that. Few seconds lost. That makes all the difference. And he goes out onto the run. He's going to be about a minute 15 back of Chris Brown at this time. So Canadian, Ukraine, and a second Canadian. Now, there is Jasper Blake. Now, he hasn't had the best ride of the day, of course. 2:29.03 his time. He's going to find himself over 4 minutes back of our leader going out onto the run. But remember, this is probably the fastest runner in the field. Let's see how quickly he makes the transition. He's used to this. He's won races at Olympic distance. He's won right up to Ironman, as we've mentioned. He loves this distance, and he loves running. He's on to his biggest forte right now. That's what took him to the win at Ironman. He's done like a 2:53 marathon there. And this lady, a big surprise to see her first off the bike. We were not surprised to see her amongst the top 5 out the swim, but to move up 4 places, Rachel Kears coming off the bike there, 2:37.39 her bike split. That's averaging about 35 kilometers an hour. Very fast again, the distance 93K. Now she is in the lead. Now she's got to rely on her running speed. My guess is she'll have to run somewhere around 85 to 88 minutes on the half marathon run. I believe the best that I've seen her do is around 87 minutes. I saw her get a 3rd in Fort Langley at the Heritage half marathon earlier this year. I know she's also had a PR for the half marathon run. That was in Gibson's around that same time, 87 minutes. She can't afford to lose any time if she wants to get the win. She hasn't even got lace locks. I'm a bit surprised about that because, again, lace locks, they're done up with a split second. She's out on the course. Tremendous job there for Rachel Kears, and looks like her total time 3:09.11 going out on the run. There is Bree Wee coming into that second position. Her bike split of 2:45, I believe it is there. Indeed it was. As you can see the smile on Rachel Kears' face, she is surprised to find herself ahead of Bree Wee at this point. And Bree Wee's overall time going out the run about a 3:14. Now look who's moved up into that 3rd and 4th position. Now just ahead of Cheryl Murphy there, Caroline Smith has also gone through. She's gone out onto the run course at 3:14, and here is Cheryl Murphy. What a bike split for her as well. It looks like the second fastest split around 2:42, but again a reminder that we had the 2:37 for Rachel Kears, who was well ahead of Cheryl going on to the run. So the difference now, it looks as though Cheryl will have to make up something like 10 minutes on the run. That's almost impossible, because we talked to her coach and mentor Phil Nichols earlier, who actually is doing the run on that relay team that was leading. He said he felt she could possibly pull back about 7 minutes on the rest of the runners, but going 10 minutes, that almost seems impossible. But Rachel Kears has her work cut out, because behind her, of course, we're seeing Bree Wee, Caroline Smith. It looks as though right now we do have another Katja Myers, I believe that is, also coming into the transition area. There goes Cheryl Murphy.
All right, to the New Balance men's leaderboard out of transition 2.
And look at that, Chris Brown has got a lead, but it may not be enough to keep the lead. However, Jasper Blake at this time, some 4.5 minutes back in 3rd place in the women's race. Amazingly, Rachel Kears, look at the time gap right now, almost 5 minutes over Bree Wee.
All right, Coach Lance, what's the strategy for the run?
Elite triathletes running off the bike will have a deep level of quad fatigue as they start the run. So to manage that, they're going to need to rely on a high level of run economy. That is a quick, low running gait or running style with a high turnover, relying on their heart and lungs and a quick arm swing to keep the momentum moving them forward. For the inexperienced triathlete, some will feel like their legs are literally sandbags. As you get more experience, you learn to overcome this, and after about 2 or 3 kilometers, you find your stride and you'll find your way to the finish line.
And looking towards that finish line, Andrei Yestrebov. Don't forget, he won Ironman Wisconsin in 2005, a very experienced athlete and a great runner. In fact, in his new Canadian hometown of Penticton, he won their Blossom 10 miler recently as well. As we look at Chris Brown, our present leader, again, look at this, very, very close, just as it was last year. There was only 16 seconds separated them last year out of transition 2, and they went on to have a great battle. They were together last year until about the 16-kilometer mark of the 21 Ks that makes up the run course, out and back twice. So they get to see their fellow triathletes, as we get to see their Bree Wee in second place in the women's race. And Caroline Smith, what a race for the Louisianan lady who used to weigh 165 pounds, turned amateur in 2002, now racing as a pro.
Finish of the run is coming up after the break. Conditions absolutely ideal for the Subaru Vancouver International Half Iron Triathlon. I'm Barry McDonald with Steve King. They are immersed in the 21K run.
And you can see Rachel Kears, our present leader. She has quite a gap. She is really, really pleased to find herself in the lead. It may be a lot of pressure for her right now, because she knows there's some runners like Bree Wee. She herself has done around 85 minutes for the half marathon run. She's actually done very well in Kona itself. They have a great half marathon run there. Others there you saw with their bikes, they're disinterested in what's happening. But look at this. we are really pleased to see Chris Brown. Remember, he retired as a firefighter and paramedic at age 23, so he can put the focus on the sport of triathlon, and he's got one of the very best in the world in Andrei Yastrov right alongside him, and there is Jasper Blake. Jasper, look at checking his watch. He wants to know, am I making up ground? Well, he is indeed. He's got a lot of ground to make up if he actually wants to win here today. It is actual 20.2 kilometers. That's what we've been told. And Carolyn Smith here in the top 3. One runner behind her right now, that is Cheryl Murphy. There she is, the lady who was 4th in the Sun Run and 2nd in Victoria at the Times Colonist 10K.
There's not just a physical fatigue they're dealing with at this point, there's a mental fatigue as well, Steve.
It certainly is, but this man knows how to handle it mentally. I've seen him win some cross-country skiing races. I've seen him win running events. He's been at the top of duathlon. He loves this race. He is last year's winner. Remember, last year he did a time of 72 minutes on the run and an overall 4:01:01, but Jasper Blake doesn't want to give away any ground. He gave away, he feels maybe a little too much on the bike, but he certainly is far from that on the run. Look at this. We know he went through the 10K mark in just over 34 minutes. It appears as though he's maintaining that sort of pace. He's already gone ahead of Chris Brown, who's now in 3rd place. Andrei Yastrov, our leader. There's Chris Brown. Now, Chris can run a 75-minute split for a half marathon, and you see he's hurting bad, but he wants to hold on. A lot of prestige for this particular race, and there would be tremendous prestige if Rachel Kears from Vancouver can hang on for a victory here. She had sufficient ground above Bree Wee, above Carolyn Smith, and of course Cheryl Murphy. There is Bree Wee, appears to be suffering a bit, but she is one heck of a triathlete, and we're delighted to see her back in action. We heard she lost a little bit of ground on the bike as a result of going slightly off course. We heard it was about 3 minutes, and that is the differential right now. And Carolyn Smith, remember, this lady used to weigh over 160 pounds. Amazing stuff here. Look how trim and fast she is here. She'll be pleased to finish in the top 3 today. And I am so pleased to find we have a tremendous race going on in both the men's and the women's race. Look at the difference in speed there. Cheryl Murphy just hammering the course as we see Peter Ladner there. I thought we'd already seen him come through, but the reason we're looking at the screen, look behind him. There's Jasper Blake. He's now assumed the lead. He has run a time just phenomenal here when you look at the splits and you see that he had that almost 5 minutes to make up on them. He's coming in for the victory to become the 2008 champion here at the Vancouver International Half Marathon. Subaru guys are at the finish line as he now comes over the green carpet. Look at that, one happy camper. He certainly rose above barriers today, getting some high fives, looks around. He's got a comfortable victory. Who would have thought? But it means he's had to have run a sub 70-minute split for this 20.2K distance. What a victory for Jasper Blake at the line. Looks like a time of 4:04:55. It was indeed.
You have events like this all over the world. Could you ask for better conditions than we had today?
You couldn't ask for better conditions. You couldn't ask for a better race, because look at the gap he opened over this man. One very experienced triathlete. Last year's winner coming in for a 2nd place today. What a series he's done so far. The Subaru West Coast Triathlon Series. Andrei Yastrov, 2nd in Shawnigan Lake, the winner in Victoria. Now coming onto the green carpet and the finish line to claim 2nd in Vancouver. And look at that time. It looks like a 4:05:33.
I thought you were going to go with me. I was like,
his way to the finish line in second
well, I may try,
and again, he just ran last weekend and got 2nd in the National Long Course Championship.
Yeah, I was.
Like Jasper Blake.
I thought too late, but you're fresh.
So he's fresh and looking like he put it all on the line today. The fastest biker of the day. Another tremendous effort. 3rd in Ironman Canada. The man who has also started his season with a 5th place in Shawnigan Lake, Chris Brown, who, like Andrei Yastrov, makes his home in Penticton. He's training for Ironman Canada, but today will claim a 3rd position. He still looks like he has run about a 75-minute clocking for the half today, and he's going to finish off just over 4 hours and 6 minutes. Again, 2nd overall last year, 3rd today. Congratulations, Chris Brown.
Did you catch him? Yeah.
tremendous to see such great athletes here at the finish line. Literally, when you look at the overall positions and times, there's less than a minute 30 separating all three of them. And here comes the top relay team member, Tom Rushton on the swim, Darren Mealing on the bike. This is Bill Nichols from Victoria, about to close in, a former winner of the Royal Victoria Marathon. And don't forget, he has a special interest in the race, as well as the winning relay team. He's going to be seeing just how his athlete is doing behind him, and that person is Cheryl Murphy. So we wait to see, can she get right up there? She is presently in second position on the run.
There's your winner in the middle, Jasper Blake, all 5'5", 130 pounds of him.
Well, coming off the bike 4.5 minutes down, I thought I was in trouble. And my running's been going well, but I knew I had my work cut out for me. And so I just settle into a pace. I'm careful now not to start too quickly. I kind of settle into my rhythm, and I was getting my K splits, and I thought, I can't be running that fast, but I felt good. The rhythm felt good, and I was clicking off 3:15s, 3:20s, some 3:30s. I thought, wow, if these are accurate, then I'm moving pretty good. And I kept getting the splits that I was making ground up on the guys, but I didn't think I would catch them. 4.5 minutes on Andre and Chris is a little too much, but I did, and I'm stoked.
So at what point did you know you had them?
I didn't know at any point that I had them, to be honest. When we were heading out for the last 5K, I was still 40 seconds down, and 40 seconds over 5K is a long way. But I knew that if I maintained that pace and they didn't pick it up, that I would have a chance. And I caught Chris probably at about 17K, and I caught Andre at the turnaround. Andre could see me, and he actually picked it up. And I thought, oh no, we got 2.5K left, and he's still got some juice left, and I'm right at my threshold, like I don't have much room to go. But he picked it up for about a K, and eventually I caught him. I sat on his shoulder for a bit just to kind of check the pace, and with about a K to go, I thought, well, it's now or never. I hate sprint finishes. I got no fast switch. I have to make it go at the end there. So
yeah, I was pretty sure that Jasper is far away. I was thinking 2 minutes after the bike, but it was 3, and on turnaround it was still 2, so I was thinking he's not making much ground. That was my big tactical mistake, I think, today. So I just stayed behind Chris, saving energy, and then when I heard that Jasper is 30 seconds behind, it was already a little late.
Well, even when you have Andre and Jasper behind you when you start the run, it's still not that, you don't have that feeling of confidence because they're such great runners. So I knew I needed more than a few minutes to make it to the finish line in first, but unfortunately I just didn't have enough of a lead.
So what do you focus on when you're leading a race like that? What keeps you motivated?
Yeah, just really focusing on the process rather than the outcome. So worrying about my technique, getting the nutrition in, keeping cool. And that's the main thing for, holding things together at the end of the race.
As for the women, Steve, it was a race to the finish.
And look at this, Cheryl Murphy amazingly has made up that almost 10 minutes, is going to take the victory. The lady who won in suit last year, just behind Jasper Blake last year, second overall there. The lady who just set a Canadian record at 71:45 for the half marathon, did her first marathon at 2:40. She could be on our World Championship team next year. And behind her, just meters back, Rachel Kears, but look at the difference in style. But absolutely a tremendous race, 4:37 on the clock for Cheryl Murphy of Victoria. And in second place, Rachel Kears, 5 seconds back, the lady from Vancouver. What an absolutely magnificent performance for both of those athletes. And coming into third place, the former Florida surfer girl herself, Bree Wee, the lady who set the age group world record at the Ironman World Championships of 9 hours, 47 minutes. She's been third place in St. Croix at the half and third place in Kona, a winner last year, in fact, of the Kona half marathon. She's coming up to lane. Who knows what would have happened if she hadn't lost that 3 minutes out there on the bike course, as she's running up the home stretch to get third here in Vancouver. And it looks like it's going to be a 4:40 clocking, just 2.5 minutes back of our first and second finishers of the day. Third placer, Bree Wee.
Congratulations, well done. Second place finish for Canadian Rachel Kears. She won the 2008 Shawnigan Lake Half Iron. She finished second in this event.
Yeah, it's absolutely been a fantastic season for me. I'm loving the sport as always, but it's even more fun to do well. It was a nail biter today. I had a great time out there. This is home turf for me. And not only is it home turf, but 3 years ago, I started a cross Canada tour, dipped my bike tire here in Jericho Beach and then off to Nova Scotia. So totally sentimental spot for me. But yeah, that bike was fantastic. I had so much fun out there. It went quick, it was fun, hardly felt like work. I'm pretty new at this whole elite thing, so having the motorcycle and the camera on me, very fun, very thrilling. And then to run, it was great to have a lead. I was excited to have a lead, and I needed it. And apparently I needed about 10 more seconds, so.
I think I felt it a little bit at mile 8 of the run. I thought I was recovered, and then about mile 8 of the run, I was thinking to myself, oh, Japan's in my legs still, I didn't shake it out. But I think it probably was a good thing because I needed to learn to run through that. Usually when the going gets tough and I kind of think, oh, a little walk break might help, so I forced myself to just keep going.
You had a little mishap on the bike today. How did that impact your focus?
Again, I kind of use it as a benefit. I know during the long races, lots of junky things happen, you know, whatever, things you can't control, so I try to just keep my cool and get back going.
As an elite distance runner doing triathlon, I feel like I do have a bit of an advantage. I've done a lot of really competitive road races, and I also know how to push on the run, and I know how to get into that sort of high cadence running right away. And I just feel really confident in my running because I've just done so many road races and I've been running PRs all season, so I just feel really confident, and that really helped me a lot today.
Did you feel like you could run down 9 minutes?
I didn't really feel like I could run down 9 minutes. I tried not to think about it. I just tried to take it one step at a time, and I just try to really run within myself and run as hard as I could run. And you know, I saw that I was making up time, and but honestly, right until the last minute, I wasn't sure I was going to catch her, and I really had to dig deep, and it was really satisfying personally for me to be able to do that.
There it is, your Subaru final results. Cheryl Murphy, your winner from Victoria. She's a mother of 2, apparently getting enough time to stay in shape.
And just 5-second victory there. And on the men's side, Jasper Blake, also a Victoria, winning by a bit of a margin, but he had to go sub 70 minutes for that half marathon run.
Absolutely great day, absolutely great venue, and just great conditions for the 2008 Subaru Vancouver International Half Iron Triathlon. It was brought to you by Subaru, taking great pride in its involvement with sporting events and charitable causes across Canada. And by Lifesport Coaching, personalized training, the next level. New Balance, love, hate, this is the New Balance. On behalf of Steve King, I'm Barry McDonald, saying so long from the 2008 Subaru Vancouver International Half Iron Triathlon.